Okay, so we are starting with Chapter 17. Chapter 17 actually moves us into our STAR-tested content. So this is not only AP stuff, but it's also STAR stuff. So pay extra good attention because you need it twice. All right. So we're going to talk about the rise of big business. And this is going to happen towards the end of the 1800s and into the early 1900s. So corporations control everything. They need to take raw materials and create a packaged product. So Swift in Chicago is an example of that. And the process is called vertical integration. And we will actually talk more about vertical integration as we move into talking more about these individuals who handled it. You have predatory pricing, basically trying to get the best deal, all that good stuff. Large firms undercutting prices in certain markets to below production costs, driving smaller businesses to fail. So a large business who could sell in mass and make money would undercut a smaller business to kind of get the lion's share of the business. Again, these are, not again, I haven't told you this yet, but so when you read these things in this chapter, you might think you can't do that. Well, you could at this time. Today it's illegal because you could at this time, and this is going to cause a lot of problems. All right, John D. Rockefeller, who is the king of petroleum, he's going to create a leading refiner, and his company will be called Standard Oil. He uses vertical integration to control production and sales. So he's going to be our big example of vertical integration. So basically, he is going to control all aspects of production. So he's going to ally with railroad executives. He's going to invite rivals to merge. Most of them agreed, basically because they have no alternative. And he will create a trust. So a trust is similar to a monopoly. The big difference is that a trust is one company holds a bunch of other companies and they control the market share. Again, these things are illegal today. You cannot do this today. So it's a new legal form that organized a small group of associates, the board of trustees, to hold stock from a group of combined firms, managing them as a single entity. So even though it's still a bunch of different companies, it's a bunch of different companies, but they're all being controlled by one group, and they all kind of do the same thing. All right. So you have a couple of different industrialists: Swift, Carnegie, Andrew Carnegie, John D. Rockefeller, and other people have always been controversial. In the eras of economic crises, opinions have tended to be harsh. So in the 1930s, historians are going to coin the term robber barons, and we still use that today. A robber baron is somebody who does whatever it takes to make money and never gives back. All right. In periods of prosperity, both scholars and the public have tended to view early industrialists more favorably, and they will call them captains of industry. Basically meaning not only are they doing things to make money, they were also contributing back to the community. And many of these big business guys we'll be talking about towards the end of, for the next few weeks of class, they could be considered both depending what point in their career you're talking about. Let's see. Some historians suggest they benefit the economy with planning and expert management. Corporate economy is a systematic transformation of the American and later global economy. All right, 1875, John Wanamaker opens the first department store in Philadelphia. He sells many different products in departments, tempting customers with large window displays and Christmas decorations. It becomes part of urban culture. At fairs and expositions, stores are going to seek to connect with rural customers. They're going to use catalogs to market goods to those outside of proximity to stores. By 1900, there were 1,200 mail-order companies. Sears Roebuck being one of them. Advertising shaped consumer demand, so by 1900, magazine ads used artwork to attract consumers' interest. At the turn of the century, companies were spending more than $90 million a year on ads in newspapers and magazines. 1903, the Ladies' Home Journal had more than 1 million subscribers. Prices were declining, making the goods more accessible to consumers. And so that's where you get that market there. Let's see. So if you see the little picture right there, the Grand Depot for dry goods, John Wanamaker, Chestnut Street, Philadelphia, 13th Street Market. So basically, they've got the whole block, this store. And y'all probably aren't as familiar with the department store today. There were more around when I was a kid, but they've kind of starting to disappear. But you could buy anything at a department store. Kind of like Macy's, if you've been to Macy's, but they were generally fancy. It was kind of a thing to go shopping at a department store. Alrighty. So white-collar professionals are going to start to come about, and these are going to be your managers and your salespeople and things like that. 1850s to 1880s, you have managers on railway lines, each with different functions and a line of communication between them. Middle managers are going to do direct supervision of departments such as accounting, purchasing, and auditing. Again, this is something we're more familiar with today, but it would have been totally new then. The drummer or the traveling salesman emerged, created opportunity for nationwide distribution of products. Managers begin to set quotas and reward salesmen for their productivity. So well into the 1950s, you will have people literally knocking door to door to try and sell people different products. So actually, it may even go into the 1960s. By then, they kind of stopped that, but you will have door-to-door salesmen as well. Female office workers were beneath managers. Women didn't really get into management positions at this point in time. They weren't given the opportunities. By the turn of the century, 77% of stenographers and typists are women. Saleswomen worked with customers in department stores. Prior to the availability of daycare, women worked at home doing piecework or sewing projects paid by item, taking in laundry, or caring for boarders. So once there starts to be some place you can leave your children, if you have them, then you can start going to work. This is a time period, though, that you could have been working as a young woman, but once you got married and had children, you would generally stop working. There weren't a lot of married women that were working turn of the century. Not in department stores and things like that. Let's see, 1/3, 4 million women are working for wages, 1/3 in domestic service, 1/3 in industry, and the rest in office work, teaching, and nursing. All right. Male skilled craft workers still going to provide their own tools, work at their own pace in many industries, for example, coal mining. Advancing industrialization and mechanization, de-skilled labor, depriving workers of autonomy, causing speed up and decreasing wages is going to happen. In the early 20th century, Frederick Taylor implemented scientific management, which is not the best. It's kind of a pain. Basically, it's the idea of how much you should be doing at a certain amount of time based on science. Late 19th century, industrial work is dangerous and unregulated. From 1876 to 1925, an average of 2,000 U.S. coal miners died each year. The coal mines would collapse, dangerous conditions, you'd have children in there, would be horrific. Factories damaged environments through air and water pollution. Mines contaminated land and water with heavy metals. So no safety regulations, no environmental protections, none of that is going on at this time. So none of this could happen today, but at that time people just didn't know it was a problem. Increasingly, women and children become part of the unskilled workforce. By 1900, 1 in 5 children under the age of 16 worked outside of the home, and you could have children as young as 5 years old working. Anybody who'd hire them. African American workers were at the bottom of the pay scale. Corporations and industrial manufacturers widely discriminated against blacks, not just in the South. Most African American women worked in domestic service. Most industries hired new immigrant labor. So that'll get us through kind of the initial part of this, and we have 2 more sections. So I will see or speak to you soon. Bye.